All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a new episode from the Knuckle Dragon Billy Goat Review with Mike and Josh. I'm Mike.
I am Josh.
All right. And today's episode is going to be a whopper. Going to be a lot of emotion today. Somebody's going to get butthurt. It's going to be Josh.
Yes, most likely.
And so today we're going to talk about abortion. Especially with the new bill that's been passed in New York, and then the Virginia deals going on with trying to make it up to, what is it, 40 weeks abortion. So we're going to talk about abortion today and see what we can come up with and see if we can find some middle ground, or maybe we just both hate it, maybe we both like it. I don't know. You want to start us off with some first thoughts on it, Josh?
Yeah, first thoughts going forward. I believe women have a right to choose what they want to do with their body up to a certain point. Now, I think the misconception on New York's law here, it's a New York's Reproductive Health Act that was signed by Governor Cuomo on the 22nd of January. It guarantees a woman's right to an abortion. So uh, as anything is with the media, it kind of get blown out of proportion here. But the law, from what it says, it permits abortions after 24 weeks if a healthcare professional determines the health or life of the mother is at risk, or the fetus is not viable, aka the miscarriage or something like that. So I support that. I think a lot of people, what they think, Mike, is that like the baby comes out, or like the baby's in the birth canal, and then they get like, I don't know what they do, like with cattle, they like punch him in the head or something like that, and then the baby's dead. I don't think it's necessarily that, but as with everything with the media, that's kind of where it's at. So I say, if you want to do it. And you.
Yeah, so I actually used to be pro abortion. For some time, I was like, yeah, if they wanna do that, go right ahead, kill them all. But I think over the last couple of years, I've kind of changed my opinion on it, because I think it comes down to just one simple fact, right? So, do you view it as actual life? Like, is that a baby to you, or is it just what people say, like a cluster of cells of sorts? Because I mean, if you really define it as a baby, I mean, isn't it murder? Is it murder if you define it as a baby?
Yeah, I mean, if you put a human emphasis on it, definitely. I mean, if it's a full scale baby, like, here's what I'm saying. If you're 9 months in and it's heading out the birth canal, or even in the birth canal still alive, and you kill it, then yeah, I do believe that's murder, which is kind of going against everything I feel on that. But where's the point of being born or unborn? And it comes down to the philosophical debate, in my opinion. Usually, once a fetus is made, it's actually from a zygote or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's more so like you're saying, a collection of cells. So, I mean, you kind of take it as you may on that.
Right. Well, so I mean, I've given this a lot of thought, right? Because I think there do needs to be a line, and I think we should get rid of the gray areas, right?
Oh,
So I
most
think,
definitely.
excuse me, yeah. So I think for me, what I came down to is the moment there's a heartbeat, a an audible heartbeat, so you can go and get it checked, and you can hear a heartbeat. I would say you can no longer abort at that time. I would even
What, just across the board? I mean, that's kind of stern, I think,
well, let me ask you this. Give me a good reason why we should abort a child. And
Well,
I'm gonna
I
and I'm
mean,
gonna say and I'm gonna refer to it as a child, by the way.
oh,
So
that's fine. Just whatever you want to. I'll refer to it as a zygote. What a zygote is a diploid cell resulting from the fusion of two haploid gametes, a fertilized ovum. So basically, a fertilized egg.
okay, cool. You're a jerk. So
Yeah, I am a jerk, but no, I mean, here's what I think. Right, in cases of rape,
oh,
okay,
here we go. Here we go.
cases of incest, cases of where the quality of life, you gotta suspect the quality of life issues that a child may have. Maybe a child's just going to be just cripped. I mean, just cripped up. I mean, just bad. You know, uh, what kind of quality of life would that child have? What would death be better? And that's up for maybe a medical professional to say. And here's what gets me too is that a lot of people that are against abortion and things like that, look at our child care systems. We're talking like DFS, DCS, organizations like that where they have children that get out and about and they're sit to home to home to home, and we don't want to take care of them, but oh no, all of a sudden we want to take care of these zeogots and whatnot, just because it's a moral issue. Don't you think it's more so a moral issue to take care of children that are born and that need a home, that are getting abused and all this?
Well, okay, so a couple points there. So the first thing I want to point out is I like how you brought up like the worst, saddest scenarios ever.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because I mean, if we go across the board and just say, well, this is legal throughout, okay, I think what you're trying to talk about is more so like, I even hate to use this term, but like a recreational one. I see some people, that's what pisses me off. There's a lady I've seen on here that says, I've had like 20 of these. And I'm like, that's just stupid. Why not use, why are you trying to make a point on that? See, something like that, that lady should be in jail. I'm sorry. She should be in jail.
Right. I agree with you there, but let me respond to what you said for a moment. So, okay. So what if I were to say, and don't answer this just yet, but what if I were to say, okay, all the incest cases, all the rape cases, and all the ones where it would kill the mom, let's make those legal. Everything else is illegal. Okay. So let me move forward for a second. Just remember that part though.
Okay.
And then you mentioned about, what was the second part? Living expense or
well, yeah, more so like the child care system that we have in the United States now.
Okay,
there's so many kids in like foster care and stuff like that, and we don't give a flying shit about them.
Well, so there's actually a lot of people that do. Now look at this. I'm going to use your state of Indiana. Okay. Look at what the state of Indiana does. And this is the state. This is the government doing this. Okay. So I'm going to show you how back ass where this is. Okay. If there's Indiana has a law that says you have to always get the child back to the parents. Okay. There's plenty of people who are trying to foster and adopt these kids who are better parents than the biological parents. But Indiana has a law that basically mandates you have to get the kid back to the parents. So whether or not they're on drugs, off drugs, they just have to prove for a certain amount of time that they can get their kids back. And then they give the kids back. And then the parents fuck up again. And then the kids go back into foster care. And then the state gives them back to the parents. And it's this constant cycle of foster care, back to the parents, foster care, back to the parents. And the state is causing this, where if they were to just remove the child from the home, give it to another family. And that's another thing about abortions too, right? Like people act like, oh, the parents aren't going to want this child, blah, blah, blah. There's so many people that can't have kids that want kids that they would adopt. But no, they make it this $100,000 deal that nobody can afford, when realistically, there's plenty of parents who would be good parents to anybody's unborn child. Okay. So I would say, in response to what you said, there's the states and the governments are causing this back and forth in and out of homes. They could make it way easier to adopt kids out. Okay. So that's one. My second thing would be, take all those sad cases that you brought up that probably make up, less than 2% of all abortions, which are going to be the rape cases, the incest cases, and the ones that are killed that will kill the mom if it goes full term. Okay, let's get rid of all three of those and then make everything else illegal. We can keep those three. Everything else is illegal. How would you feel about that?
I would be semi okay with that, except I'd add another stipulation in there. Right.
Well, what's that?
The quality of mental health for the mother, if they were to have the child. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, but that's all encompassing though. I mean, that would end up including everybody again.
We're splitting hairs more or less. But no, I mean, there could be a medically viable situation where, they go in there to the doctor and say, hey, if I have this child, like, I'm going to blow my brains out. So at that point, you have two people that are going to be dead, or a person and a zeogot, that are going to be dead anyway. So, I mean, there's certain ways around it, but here's what it is as well. Childbirth is actually pretty dangerous compared to, what is it?
Seriously?
Dude, check it out, baby. Check it out. I got facts, man. I came prepared.
We've been birthing people for thousands of years. It is not dangerous.
It's 14 times more deadly than abortion.
Oh my God.
15.9 women died per 100,000 live births, and this is 2012. So I figure the facts are probably about the same from what I can say. 14 more times, Michael.
Yeah, I'd be interesting to see what it was thousands of years ago when they were doing it in a river or on the dirt.
What, just like falling out anyways?
Well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, is this including like malpractice or like umbilical cord stuck around the, child's throat or something? I mean, that I'm not buying that we are so, someone we've evolved into this perfect species that just can't give birth. Like, oh, it's so dangerous. Like, are we making it dangerous because we suck at our jobs and we're intervening so much? Or if it was left to be naturally done, on your own out in the woods or whatever, going back, to those days,
Well, it
would
says
it be
here,
safer?
it says here the risk of dying from an abortion does increase the longer someone's pregnant, which obviously makes sense. But check this out. It says this is in 2011. It says 91% of the abortions that were performed during the first trimester. So that's the first 12 weeks before the 13th week. Now let's see when babies get heartbeats.
Oh, it's before that.
I forget. Like I said, I hadn't had to take an anatomy class in quite some time.
Oh, it's worth a Google.
Yeah, I definitely think so. There's certain situations, and I'm in the vernacular too. I think a lot of it, what people do, maybe, and I mean,
6 weeks,
I've never been in that situation.
6 to 8 weeks, you get a
Six-
heartbeat.
6 to 8 weeks,
Yep.
some sort of heartbeat. But what about cognitive brain functioning? Are we actually hurting the child, or is he a god?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. Your brain
Heartbeats.
Oh, well, you can have a heartbeat and still be brain dead, and they pull the plug on you in real life. What's the difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference.
All right. Well, let me hear it, baby.
I hate you. So the difference for me, what I would say the difference is that if you were to leave one of them be, it would become something. If you leave the other one be, it never changes.
So the state of development
Is temporary. It is temporary. The brain dead you're talking about, oh, it's got a heartbeat, but brain dead, that is a temporary situation that it will eventually evolve out of within 9 months.
Right.
Whereas the other one, you clearly know there's a difference because that person has already gone through this process, had cognitive brain function, lived their life, and now it has expired to a point of, brain injury or coma or, something where they're brain dead and it's not going to come back. There's a difference. So don't tell me there's not. That if you leave one, and I'm talking about the fetus, the baby, if you leave that one be, it will turn into something amazing and have brain function. Now there are scans you can do when it's in the womb and you can tell if a baby doesn't have brain function. Again, I would put that into your first three categories, incest, rape, or it's not going to survive the mom, or you know what I mean, the mom will die due to pregnancy issues, or I would guess I would include in there the baby's already brain dead. But to prove that, it's like a lot of money and nobody's going to do that.
Well, no, obviously not. And I agree with that to a point anyways.
So you agree there is a difference?
Yeah, obviously there's a difference. Like I said, a preservation of somebody that is brain dead and then something that is developing. That'd be the same as you killing a toddler.
Right. It's not the same.
Except the toddler is, outside the body and not brain dead, as you would say. So, what do you feel? I don't know. This is such a touchy subject today. Like,
well, it's a huge gray area, right?
It really is. Because I mean, I'm like, I side with you on a lot of this, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, well, I really do, but at the same time, it's like there's so many situational things, and I don't know what the statistics are. And like I said, we know the statistics are flawed. They're flawed. It doesn't matter. We could survey 100,000 people, and that could be our whole study, and we still have 329,900,000 blah 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 to do. It's not necessarily the end all be all, but I think more so what you were bringing up was the New York State law. That I think that was the one that really grinded your gears.
Well, anyways. a little bit, and let me explain that for a moment, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you explained in the beginning about what it actually was. Okay. And I respect that. That's good. But my problem is it's a slippery slope. And we talked about this in the past on another podcast. And I think it was about the assisted suicide. And
Uh,
this is the same thing. I mean, yeah, they just, you know, you take an inch and then you end up giving a mile, because it takes one person to be like, no, I am going to kill myself if I have this baby. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we have to abort it because she says that. I'm not really sure. And then
well,
the
I think
moment
more
one
so.
person can do it,
Here,
then more people can do it.
well, let me interject right there.
Yeah.
There needs to be documented mental health issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, then it needs to be. It doesn't need to be just, well, they're just post mortem or pre mortem or whatever, what have you. You know,
Right.
there needs to be something documented. You know, and say, you know, what does the good outweigh the bad on this, and
Yeah.
go from there. Which I know that's kind of a cop out on a lot of it.
Well, I I don't know if it's a cop out. Let me ask you this. We'll kind of shift gears for a moment.
All right.
Do you think the government should be involved in making laws surrounding what we can and can't kill?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, in the disparity of it, yeah, obviously. I mean, if we sit here and we don't have laws and we have lawlessness, then things just get obviously worse. Now, do they need to get into the particulars about a lot of this? No, I think it needs to be the state's responsibility, and the state be able to define it as needed.
Okay, so I agree with that to an extent. Let me see here. I'm gonna look something up.
Using the interwebs.
Yeah. Let's see here. Looking up the definition of murder.
Murder.
So the unlawful premeditated killing of one human being by another. So this is where I came down to my first argument when we first started this, is you have to look at it two ways, right? One person views it as a baby, a person, a child. The other views it as what you're talking about, like a xenogod or whatever bundle of cells.
Right.
So it's really comes down to the classification and, you know, how you're going to define this, because here's the problem. If you say it's a baby, it's murder. If you say it's something else, well, then it's not murder. And how lucky are you that you can now call it something else other than a baby, when they've been calling it babies for, you know, thousands of years.
Well, yeah,
All of a sudden they've transitioned the definition of what's growing inside of you to cells up until the 40th week.
well, technology and science advances. I mean, you know, thousands of years ago, we thought we rotated around, you know, we thought the sun rotated around us and the world was flat. And, you know, there were actually like witches and stuff. Here's what's funny, though. You know, we talked about the late term. They consider late term abortions after 20 weeks, right? According to this,
Yeah.
according to CDC, right? Only 1% of all these were done after 21 weeks. 1%.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's facts. Does it make it right? I don't know. I don't know what the situational is behind it. You know, I think I would assume the longer that you birth the xenogot, the child, the baby, whatever. The only reason it looks here from the way they changed the law on this, basically they took it away. What is it? What does it say? It says the RHA, that was the Reproductive Health Act, removes abortion from state's penal code altogether. The homicide statute defines, quote, a person as a human being who has been born and is alive. So that kind of goes with our thing, you know, it sits there and it's like, you know, popping out, and then you just pop it in the head and it dies. That's homicide. But if it's inside the womb, it's not.
Jeez.
So did it cross the line or not?
Okay. So look, I'm not saying that I'm against only post 20-week abortions. I'm against abortions after 6 to 8 weeks, which is what we just determined was a heartbeat. Which would I mean, morning after pill. If you still have time to take a morning after pill, do that. Okay. But here's the problem, right? Look at the reasons people are getting abortions. Okay. They don't want to take responsibility. Okay. It's the easy way out. And like you said, there's people who get multiple abortions. And I think I actually read a study. So don't quote me on this because it's been a couple years. It's probably been 2.5 years, I think, since I've read this study. But basically, it said that people who get one abortion are likely to get a second and third, and they're normally in their 30s.
Well, they're old. See, that could decrease the health of them. There's so much emphasis nowadays, and really not so. But I mean, there's birth control that's available. There's all this, kind of like you're talking about. If the person doesn't want to have the child or whatever, then maybe they can put it up for adoption. But here's where we run on a lot of this too: is that with the inability for people to use healthcare, we've all seen it. The woman that has 12 kids is on welfare, gets a fat government check at the end of the year just for popping babies out.
Yeah. So there's an incentive for that. You're right. What are you getting at here?
What am I getting at here? What I'm getting at here is that the U.S. in general needs to have a better sexual education program and have a easier access to birth control methods than
they
sitting
do.
Here. Well, it's not pushed though.
It's free. I mean, you can go any state.
Though. It's so taboo though. You know what I'm
saying?
Birth
control? Birth control is taboo? Since when?
You got kids here. Did they ever teach you about birth control in school growing up?
Yeah. Condoms.
Bullshit.
Condom is birth control. Condoms. And yes, my girlfriend when I was in high school was on birth control. Back then they even had this shot where you don't get a period for 6 months. And there was pills a long time before that. Dude, it's free. You just walk down to the clinic and get it. It's free. They give you birth control. They make it sound like it's like this huge expense on the society. Dude, they're handing it out like candy. Just go get some. Quit being irresponsible.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good point, but we do live in a secular nation. So I think a lot of this turns into is that people feel it's morally and ethically wrong to have birth control.
You know what?
I.e. Catholic Church, i.e. any Christian denomination really that I've been a part of. I grew up in a pretty religious household, and it was, abstain from sex, and that was it. Don't go down and get your pills, which are easily available and quite effective. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I do. And I'm not going to disagree. Okay. Excuse me. So here it is, right? Let me just lay some more out there.
Lay it out. Lay some wisdom out for me.
Give you something you can chew on here. Okay.
Give me something good.
Let me ask you a question first. What do you think happens when you have sex?
Fun things. It's a function. I mean, it's natural. It's a natural biological function. We're put on the earth to reproduce, obviously, and I mean it's practice for fun. It's kind of like shooting blanks. That'd be the best way to do it. And if we could get people to say, all right, hey, if you guys are going to do this or have the possibility to do this, take this. This isn't intrinsically bad, and it doesn't make you a bad person. I mean, you could take that stuff and never have any experiences. And I see what you're saying there. The accessibility to it is good, but I think more so the sociological stigmas behind it is what really deters a lot of folks.
All right. So again, I'll finish what I was going to say a moment ago is if you are deeming yourself responsible enough to have sex, whether you are on a birth control of some sort or not, I don't care if you're using a condom. I don't care if she's got what are those things they put up in there? An IUD.
IED, kaboomy.
Yeah.
No, the little thing that looks like a T.
Yeah, I don't care if they're using like a diaphragm,
NuvaRing or whatever it's called.
Yeah. If you're gonna take the responsibility upon yourselves, it takes two to have sex, whether or not you're on some type of birthing control or whatever, and you end up having a kid. Well, guess what? You had sex. That's what it's for.
You bought it.
Exactly. You can try and get around it all those ways you want. Condoms break, pills don't work. Okay. They even state 99.9. You are taking responsibility. And if you're mature enough and responsible enough to have sex with the reproductive organs that you were given, and we all know that's what they are reproductive organs first, they're fun second, okay? If you're going to do that, you take responsibility. This isn't, I think abortion nowadays is becoming birth control, and it's such a lazy, rude way to do it. I know maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, but I guess my point here is take responsibility. And I think we're trying to get away from that, as people don't want to be responsible. They're like, oh, well, I was just doing it for fun. Well, actually, those are reproductive organs, and you should all know that. And I get you had a condom on or you were on birth control, but guess what? If you're going to be responsible enough to have sex with somebody, you got to be responsible enough to know that that's how you make babies.
Yeah, you should be responsible enough, but I mean, it seems like in our society is that, children are having sex a lot earlier and earlier. And think about
education.
Okay, we had all the education that we could have, but we still went out there and, bumped uglies, thinking, well, okay, there's no way that you're responsible. I'm sorry, you're not. I don't think you're responsible until you're 18 or older. I'm gonna put a fine age on it. You're not responsible, and then you're still not responsible. Then, you know what I'm saying? Now, does it take away from the choices that you make? No. You know inherently that if you're going to do something like this, that there is the option of you having a child.
Adopt it out.
The period. Here you go. Hey, this is the fact I was looking for, right? This is going to really set you off. I love it. According to the American College of OBGYNs, fetal perception of pain is unlikely before the third trimester, which starts in the 28th week. That the part of the brain doesn't exist yet. That would be my cutoff. If it can feel pain, then it's murder. If it can't feel pain, let it rip.
Oh, can you apply that to everything, or is this just speaking of a preborn fetus baby?
Preborn zygote. Zygote is not a zygote after the 28th week. It's a baby. Okay. That's what I'm calling. That's what I'm calling. And I've never put anything on that before, but after the 28th week, it is a baby.
So I'm not arguing that it's not right because they can feel pain or not feel pain. I'm arguing that it's not right because if you were to leave it on its own accord, it turns into a baby that then grows up, speaks languages, goes to school, learns, becomes a part of society, is a successful human being just by living and breathing on its own. That's what happens. Like, right, when you leave it alone, it turns into a fucking baby.
It turns into a baby, and that's it. Now, the baby's impact on the society might be bad. What about Hitler?
You can't determine that.
You can't. But hey, what about Hitler? What about Stalin? What about Mao?
Well, they shouldn't have been aborted.
Yeah, they should have been.
Why?
You know how many people they've killed collectively?
Well, yeah, they were bad people.
Hundreds of millions. So
now
we come down to the nitty gritty. Come on, just listen for a second here. All right. We come down to the nitty gritty. So if we take out 3 of these folks, we have 100 million plus people still living, plus their offspring. So inherently, for some of this that may have been cliche or, let's not do this, let's just let them come out and be successful people. That's a silly. Now, is there any way that we could, realistically, we can't sit there and say, well, this baby's going to be a mass murderer or psychopath or anything like that. We don't know that, obviously. But if we were to, this is hypothetical, if we were to know these type things, Mike, would you be comfortable with saying, yeah, we need to nip this in the bud before it becomes, a child?
No, I wouldn't. And I don't like your scenario, or I don't like that you're saying, oh, if we would have aborted these 3 people, all these lives would have been saved. Those 3 people didn't single-handedly kill those people. They had so many followers. So do we then kill off all their followers? Because their followers are who did the killings, okay? Like, look at the Holocaust. Okay, Hitler didn't single-handedly kill those people. He had so many followers that he just enticed to do these things. And so they're equally responsible, okay? So you can't say, if we would have gotten rid of Hitler, this would have been fine, because it could have been another leader, and they could have still been followers, right?
Well, so obviously, I mean, people follow people, right? But here's the thing, right? Well,
you can't say
I'll use this analogy, okay? You got a firework, all right? The firework's the people. You got a lighter. You put the lighter on the wick. What happens? The wick burns. The fucking firework flies. You know, that's my view on it. Anyways, is that yeah, people. Pardon me. People do follow folks. You know, is it right? No, obviously not. And that's what, you know, that's the thing with like leadership and things like that I don't understand is that people know that inherently this is wrong, but they still do it anyways.
Yeah. So should you have aborted those thousands of people that followed?
Uh, if there was some sort of genetic marker that I could see and say, yes, this is going to be something that is going to be intrinsically bad and it's going to save millions of people, yes, I would.
Oh, you know what? I think they're actually doing that. Oh man, can you remember? Have you heard of that? What country that is?
Oh, what's that one? I don't know.
Is it like yeah, look it up. I think it's actually like Sweden or something like that, where they are testing for Downs and they're just aborting anything with Downs.
Yeah, I think it is Iceland or something. Let me see. Testing for Down syndrome. God damn.
Yeah.
I do remember. And here's the thing too. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. Like, dude, and even you know my position on this right now. Let's see here.
Well, I mean, that's on it's way too I don't know. I like to look at the Downs spectrum a little bit differently than other people. Right. I slightly, and this is based off of nothing factual. This is just an opinion.
This your opinion, right?
I believe that in a way that is our bodies trying to evolve and we're not letting it happen. In a lot of ways, these people with that are on the Down spectrum, they're very honed in on certain aspects and they are genius level at them. And yes, they do have other impairments that we are deeming impairments, but as far as quality of life, I mean, yeah, some of them are so severe they don't really have a quality of life. I would say that's kind of rare. But other ones are functioning. I mean, they have a little bit harder of a time in society, but man, some of them are just like genius level mathematicians, and along with other things too.
They call that being a savant, idiot savant, basically like Rain Man.
Well, yeah, but I mean, God, you can't. So I look at it as maybe we're just trying to evolve. Maybe something's going to come out of that down the road. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like a weird change now, and we don't know how to understand or to take it, and we're seeing it as a deformity or mental impairment of some sort. But maybe it's our way of like trying to go to the next level, and we're just not letting it happen. It doesn't have a chance to fully evolve over the next, millennium or something.
Yeah, maybe. Here we go.
I don't know. Just an opinion.
No, that's fine. That's cool. More so, let's check this out here. So I got Sweden's pulled up here, and Sweden has this KUB test, which is something in Swedish, right? It includes a ultrasound and a blood test. If a risk for Down syndrome is detected, the expectant mother can then go and have her amniotic fluid tested, right? Here we go here. It says 5.2 out of every 1,000 births were terminated for this testing, right? Some 22% of mothers who found out their child had a chromosomal abnormality chose to terminate the pregnancy. Now, here it goes to where you're saying, brain functioning and stuff like that. And I totally agree from it. But it says, apart from Down syndrome, expectant parents also face giving birth to children with serious heart, lung, and kidney conditions, okay? The mother chose to terminate pregnancy in 88% of these cases where the child had I can't pronounce this. I think it's a nenocathle, which is a part of the child's brain is missing. Okay. A specific region of the brain is just, it's not there, period. Not like it doesn't function. It's like not there. And then check this out. 70% of these other cases, right? Or sorry, 75% of these other cases detect a bilateral renal agenus, which basically the child doesn't have kidneys.
Do you even need those? I mean, come on.
I mean, can't they just can't you just get like a kidney surgery beforehand? I mean, I don't know. I see what you're saying here. Maybe it is something, on a hypothetical level that it is an advancement going forward. Maybe it's something that we just don't understand. It's kind of like we've talked about before, is that a lot of these, higher level thinking and stuff like that is we just don't understand it. We don't understand how the brain functions, correctly. We only use a certain percentage of our brain per whatever. And, and a lot of these people have different functions that they are able to be super smart on some things and then not able to tie their shoes. Yeah.
Oh man, where do we go from here? Let's back up.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we kind of went off on a tangent here. I think more so we were trying to establish our positions on the abortion, and I'm going to tell you my 4 factors that I would have for it. Right. Here's the 4 factors that I would say would be acceptable. Okay. Case of rape and incest, obviously. Cases of physical harm to the mother, cases of where the fetus is already dead. You know what I'm saying? And then cases as cleared by physicians that the mother is just not capable of having the child, and maybe some sort of other physical and mental detriments that can be tested for going forward in the future, where the doctors sign off on it saying, hey, it's the quality of life for this child is going to be non-existent, and the quality of life for a mother is going to be non-existent, and maybe we go from there. So that's kind of my views on it anyways.
Man, let's go back a couple hundred years really quick. When do you think, at what point in time do you think abortion, I don't even think it was called abortion back then. When do you think people started really like coat hangering themselves? All these horror stories that you hear about why they needed abortion to be legal for doctors and stuff, the whole coat hanger thing, and like, jumping off buildings and stuff, those worst case scenarios where, women's lives were, they were killing themselves because they got pregnant. When do you think that started?
Well, let's see here. Actually, it looks like the first recorded evidence of induced abortion is from the Egyptian Ebers Papyrus in 1550 BC. So 1550 years before Jesus, they were doing stuff. What does it say? Strenuous activity, climbing, paddling, weightlifting. Well, there's apparently records here.
Shut up.
There's records, man. People have been having records for so long.
They found it painted in a cave?
Yeah, there's a picture, actually. There's a picture here. It depicts a demon performing an abortion upon a woman who has been sent to the underworld.
All right.
Now, we can't take that as literal, whatever it is. Let me see here. Reading. Let me see. 8th century. Let's say 8th century in Asia. Let me see. Japanese have documents as early as the 12th century. The Maoris of New Zealand. Doesn't give a date on this. Let me see. Greco-Roman. Okay, so we'll get to our neck of the woods. So I think it's 1803. Actually, in England, they put in a law is actually in the Stabbing and Something Act, like Stabbing and Shooting Act or something like that, in 1803, that codified abortion as a criminal offense. Yeah.
I hate you.
And then, hey, check this out, right? We'll even get this into Christianity here. The Bible's Exodus, chapter 21, verses 22 to 24, describes 2 men fighting, accidentally hitting a pregnant woman's stomach, causing a premature death that does not result in further injury as a non-capital offense and a non-serious injury unless the results of it, the crime and the murder. Let me see. Commentator, so. God does not regard the fetus as a soul.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Hey, check this. Numbers chapter 5, verses 11 through 31 describe the test of an unfaithful woman. If a man is suspicious of his wife's fidelity, he would take her to the high priest. The priest would make her drink a substance made from water and the dust of the tabernacle floor. If she had been unfaithful, her abdomen would swell and her womb would miscarry, and she would become a curse. Dun dun dun. I told you I was gonna be on it today, my man.
All right, look. Let's I'm gonna give you a hypothetical then, since we're doing all this weird, crazy, ancient Egyptian talk.
Hey man, exactly right.
Do you think we'll get to a point where, as humans, we stop having natural births, and if a couple wants to have a child, they just do it in a lab and they grow a baby in a bag?
Yeah, I mean it's already happening. It's already happening. We cloned Dolly. We cloned Dolly back in the 90s. To say that we're not going to be able to clone or produce children in a test tube. Test tube babies having an artificial wound. I already think we do actually. I got to look this up, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, I've seen them do it with animals, right? They grew an animal inside of like a big bag.
Yeah, that's what it showed. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. I mean, as long as you're feeding. Artificial womb for human trials. Here we go. Let's check this out. That's interesting. Let me see. Artificial womb successfully passed first test. Human trials can begin as of 2017. What we got here?
Oh, that's so weird,
dude. And it is, because basically it's like a blood machine or whatever. It's pumping the stuff through.
Hey, everybody, next podcast is going to be, should we grow humans?
Oh, dude, that would be awesome.
No, it wouldn't. Oh,
yes,
God.
It would be. What's the difference?
Haven't you seen that one movie? What's that one movie? Was it the original Judge Dredd?
Yeah, where they're like in the eggs, or they like freeze them in the. Well, that's like they froze them in the eggs or whatever.
Yeah, but at the end they had like a bunch of clones for the judge people. They made like a bunch of judge clones or something.
Yeah.
never turns out good.
No. Well, I mean, what's the difference though, Mike?
One is people made in a tube, I guess, and the other one is like all natural.
Well, I mean, all you have is a wound, essentially. You got the egg. I mean, the process of fertilization is that, you have sperm go into an egg. The egg becomes, what you call it, alive-ish, has some cell activity. And
look,
the mother,
that's just not right.
Nah, I don't know. You know what? I think it's a viable solution in a lot of cases. What if somebody has a toxic womb syndrome or something like that and can't actually foster a baby inside the womb, that they have a artificial means to do it that would be successful and whatnot,
All right. Yeah. So I see that I'm looking at this link you sent me here. So for everybody who doesn't know here, we're looking at he sent me a link that shows basically, it looks like is that a lamb?
Yeah, I think it's lamb. Yeah, it's lambs.
Yeah. They grew a lamb in a artificial womb. So basically it looks like a big plastic Ziploc bag.
Hey, but it's on a hot plate. That's what it says. If you scroll down to the bottom, it shows here, basically it pumps it in the amniotic fluid in the sac, right? And then it looks like into the sheep or lamb itself, it's some sort of medication and blood flow type tubing. And it's basically given oxygen, more or less. And then the fluid out. It looks cool. It looks cool, man. It really does.
Yeah, it really does. There's a couple pictures here where you can kind of see it growing, and then the very last picture here, it's got hair and everything inside of the bag. So I'm curious if they let that go full term, and if they actually brought it out and it's alive, or did they just kind of kill it off just as like an experiment?
I don't know. I mean, it looks like a full size lamb for my lamb days, anyways.
Oh yeah, this is weird.
It is. It took a different caveat on this, but I mean, there's so many different items, with birth and death and abortion and whatever else you want to call it. So,
well, let me ask you this then. So let me bring this back to why we think abortion is okay. Okay, so let's go. I guess like worst case scenario in the future. Let's say all abortion is totally fine and legal. There's just you just go and take a pill and then they take this baby out and it's super cheap and super affordable. What does this do to the human population as a whole? Like, do we get down like a vicious circle here where, we don't see value in human life and raising children anymore?
maybe in some societies, yes, but still, you're going to have these third world societies that aren't going to have this as a modern, almost say convenience, more or less, right? We're already on a planet that is going to be uninhabitable probably the next couple hundred years, just based on population and
That's fake
how
news.
that. Anyways, I mean, you already see how there's too many people in the world.
No,
It's
there's not.
population control. Way too many people in the world. Way
What
too
based
many.
off of what?
Based on look at our planet, bruh.
Yeah, Google Maps. We look good.
There's land and sea and whatnot.
We haven't even started living in the water yet.
Right. We hadn't even started living on the moon yet.
Well, that's because it's inhabitable. There's no there's no like ozone layer.
Right.
There's no atmosphere. I guess that'd probably be better to say.
Yeah, well, they can make one. Haven't they seen Biodome?
Oh my gosh. They didn't make they put them in a bubble. That's different. They were in like an enclosure.
Right. Living in a bubble.
I would I'd like to think that we're going to be living in the oceans sooner than living on another planet.
Yeah, maybe Waterworld. Worst
Also,
movie ever made.
I actually really enjoyed Waterworld. Is that Kevin Costner?
You know what? There's a lot of things you can say that I can brush off. I don't think I can brush off that. Yeah, it was Costner.
Oh man, yeah, that was a good movie.
Most expensive movie ever made.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah, based on inflation and whatnot.
Oh geez. Well, they needed a lot of water, so.
Yeah, I mean the water's expensive.
What about in Star Wars when they went underwater for like Jar Jar Binks's species? They were living in like bubbles under the water.
Yeah, I never seen Star Wars, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And you've never seen Star Wars, but you have an opinion on abortion. Cool.
Yeah. Duh. Obviously. All right. So I guess kind of wrapping up on this, Mike, I'll let you go first. Kind of just tell me what your thoughts are over this 50,000-foot view on this shit.
Well, I think I stated it pretty heavily. I think people are using abortion because they are not wanting to take responsibility for the actions they've done. I think we need to get better education. We need to have parents more involved in their kids' lives so that, yes, they know, if you have sex, there's a really good chance you're going to make a baby, and that's your fault. Nobody else's. Okay. Takes two. It's not the girl's fault. It's not the boy's fault. It's both of your faults. Okay. So I would say more education. I'm going to stick with abortion past a heartbeat is bad. So 6 to 8 weeks. I'm giving you guys a little leeway, morning after pill, because you know what? I still don't think accidents happen, but I'm giving you a little bit of leeway there. So 6 to 8 weeks, morning after pill. Anything after that, you're kind of just an asshole. You're a lazy, irresponsible, not wanting to have a baby, but was cool with having sex jerk.
Oh God, we're gonna have nobody listen to our podcast anymore. Way to go, Mike. Way to go, Mike. You made it. Here we go. Here's my view. I told you the 4 conditions that I kind of looked at on there, and it's more so the health of the child, if it's actually viable and alive. Case of rape and incest, obviously. The mother's ability to have the child, psychological, emotional, those type of things as well. And what was the 4th one? Gosh darn it, I can't remember the 4th one off the top of my head. Basically up to 28 weeks is what I'm calling it. Whenever the baby has the perception of pain, if you cause pain to it, it's a baby. If you're a human, you feel pain, and that's where I'm calling it, the pain threshold. 28 weeks and before, go for it. I do agree with you though that the education behind a lot of this needs to be improved in a way. It needs to be less taboo in our society. And you're right, it takes 2 to tango. More so in the fact that the responsibility behind it, they shouldn't be using this just as a birth control method. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Oh, obviously, but I appreciate Appreciate your opinion on this, as well. And there's a lot of times we're not going to see eye to eye on a lot of these topics, but that's what makes this show quite interesting. So for all the listeners out there, you can follow us on our Facebook page, the Knuckle Dragon Billy Goat Review with Mike and Josh. We are also under the same name on SoundCloud and iTunes. We have some pretty good ideas moving forward that we're not going to necessarily tell you guys right now, so leave you in suspense. So for this beautiful dreary Sunday morning, why am I thinking it's afternoon? Sunday morning, this is Josh.
Oh, this is Mike. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Later, buddy.
Later.